How do you say your last name?
McAleenan.
Okay, Kevin.
Yes.
All right. Kevin is the commissioner of the U.S. Custom and Border Protection Agency since March of 2018. He oversees 60,000 employees, manages a budget of $13 billion, and ensures the effective operation of CBP's efforts to protect national security while promoting economic prosperity and security. Counterterrorism, border security, trade enforcement are all in your bailiwick. There's $4 trillion in trade, 365 million people travel through ports of entry. You oversee the largest law enforcement agency and the second largest revenue collecting source in the federal government. And I think you do a hell of a job, and we're glad to have you, and the floor is yours.
Good morning, and thank you, Mr. Chairman, Ranking Member Feinstein, members of the committee. It's a privilege to appear before you again today. I do appreciate, Mr. Chairman, the committee calling this hearing on the critical issue of human smuggling at our borders and CBP's responses to it. Since I last appeared before the committee almost 3 months ago, we have seen the challenges of the border increase significantly. Yesterday, as both of you noted in your opening statements, CBP released the numbers of enforcement actions at our southwest border for both illegal crossings between ports of entry and inadmissible arrivals at ports of entry for the month of February. These numbers reflect the highest level of illegal apprehensions of any February in over a decade. In total, we saw more than 76,000 apprehensions and inadmissible arrivals, and within that number, in just 4 weeks, we saw 40,385 members of family units and 7,250 unaccompanied children. As you noted, Mr. Chairman, that's an almost 340% increase for the fiscal year to date in family units and 50% plus in unaccompanied children. We have now apprehended or encountered more families in just 5 months and 5 days than last year's record total. Not only are the numbers increasing, the percentage of people from countries in the Northern Triangle of Central America is growing as well. Today, 70% of crossings are from these countries, and a full 63% of crossings are vulnerable families and children. Also, while November of this fiscal year marked the first time that any other country exceeded the number of Mexican nationals apprehended and encountered by CBP, Guatemalans and Hondurans are both crossing in larger numbers now than Mexican nationals. These numbers are significant because, unlike historical crossing levels, which were comprised of a large majority of single adults from Mexico who could be repatriated quickly, families and children from Central America require increased care and processing and are released into the United States pending adjudication of their immigration claims. Within these numbers, we are confronting challenging new smuggling cycles, patterns, and methods. So-called caravans, where 500 or more migrants form groups in Central America, mostly in Honduras, and travel together through Mexico. Separately, large groups of mostly family units from Guatemala are traveling on buses through Mexico to the U.S. border in a much shorter smuggling cycle, making the journey in as little as 4 to 7 days. So far this year, we have seen 70 instances of large groups of over 100 migrants crossing the border illegally. That's what we're showing on the screen right now. Those are large group arrivals in El Paso sector, stretching from central El Paso all the way to the boot heel of New Mexico. In one case, agents encountered a group of 334 arriving together on 8 commercial buses. Smugglers are abandoning these groups in the most remote areas of our border, including Antelope Wells, New Mexico, and Ajo and Yuma, Arizona. The availability of these methods means more young children are being brought to the border, and we are seeing migrants arrive with illnesses and medical conditions in unprecedented numbers. This reality was realized tragically in December when 2 migrant children under the age of 10, Jacqueline Maquin and Felipe Gomez Alonso, died at hospitals while under the care of El Paso sector. While I believe that our agents did everything that they possibly could to save these young lives, reviving Jacqueline and transporting her by air ambulance to the nearest hospital with appropriate facilities, bringing Felipe to the hospital twice, it was not enough to save these children from the dangers of the smuggling cycle. In response, CBP has mounted significant new efforts to increase medical checks and care upon arrival at Border Patrol stations or ports of entry. In January, I issued an interim medical directive guiding CBP's deployment of enhanced medical efforts to mitigate the risk to and improve the care for individuals in CBP custody along our border as a result of these surges in children and families. This directive was developed in consultation with medical and pediatric experts and is being made publicly available. Since the directive was signed, with the help of our interagency partners, including the U.S. Coast Guard and the Public Health Service Commission Corps, certified medical practitioners working alongside our personnel have screened over 12,000 juveniles and transported an average of 55 people to the hospital every day, ensuring essential medical care for thousands of migrants over the past 2 months. We're currently working to expand medical care to all 9 Border Patrol sectors and all ports of entry. And at the same time, Border Patrol agents out on the front line have continued their life-saving mission, rescuing over 4,300 people at risk during the crossing last year. In addition to the dramatically increasing volume of unlawful crossings between ports of entry, where 87% of our arrivals were last month, we are also seeing unprecedented increases in asylum seekers arriving at ports of entry, where we work to provide safe and lawful access. After recording a record level of over 38,000 asylum seekers last year, itself a 120% increase from fiscal year 17, we have almost reached that total just in the first 5 months of this year, a 90% increase already in fiscal year 19 at our ports of entry. We are working hard to provide access for asylum at our ports of entry. These flows have border security consequences, though, as families and children are routinely used to divert our agents and occupy them while smugglers bring illicit drugs and single adults that are trying to evade capture across our border. And as the requirements to process, transport, and care for the humanitarian needs of families and children requires 25 to 40% of our agents in key sectors, we know our capacity to secure that border is reduced as our personnel are tied down. What is causing these trends? As I explained to this committee in December, these increases and demographic changes in crossings are direct responses to the vulnerabilities in our legal framework that have become well known to smugglers and migrants. These weaknesses in our laws now represent the most significant factors impacting border security and include the inability to keep families together while they complete expeditious and fair immigration proceedings. Instead, crossing with a child is a guarantee of a speedy release. The asylum gap, where approximately 80% of individuals meet the initial credible fear bar, while only 10 to 20% are found to have valid asylum claims at the end of immigration court proceedings. And the disparate treatment under the Trafficking Victims Protection Reauthorization Act, which allows for children arriving from Mexico and Canada to be repatriated, but not from other countries, including those in Central America, regardless of the views of those governments. These statutory deficiencies ensure a high likelihood of success, and the trends that they have invited have significant and dangerous consequences. The belief that our system will allow migrants to stay in the U.S. indefinitely, even if they enter illegally and whether or not they have a valid asylum claim, is clearly the driving pull factor for those making the decision to journey to our border. Along with important push factors, which include challenging conditions in many parts of Central America, migrants are incentivized to put their lives in the hands of smugglers and make the dangerous trek north. The cost of these pull and push factors is seen every day in profits of transnational criminal organizations, in lives lost on the journey, and in the loss of youth and energy from the countries of the Northern Triangle. From the experience of the men and women of U.S. Customs and Border Protection, this is clearly both a border security and humanitarian crisis. There are solutions to this crisis. We need to continue to support the governments of Central America to improve economic opportunities, to address poverty and hunger, and to improve governance and security. The State Department announced $5.8 billion in aid and investment commitments to these countries in December. We must work with President López Obrador's administration in Mexico to address the transnational criminal organizations that are profiting and preying on migrants. And we must invest in border security, a modern border barrier system, additional agents and officers, additional technology at and between ports of entry, and air and marine support. And we must also have a whole of U.S. government approach to address children's unique medical needs and the undeniable humanitarian challenges we are facing. All of these steps will make a significant difference. However, Mr. Chairman, in order to ensure a lasting and meaningful change at the border, we must also confront and address the vulnerabilities in our legal framework. I look forward to answering the committee's questions today.
If you had a choice between closing or changing the laws and money for barriers or anything else, what would be your top priority?
Well, I believe we need both, Mr. Chairman, but the immediate impact, 63% of our traffic at the border would be addressed by a change in the laws.
Change in the law affects 63% of the problem. 70% of the people you're apprehending come from 3 countries, is that what you said?
Correct.
Okay. Do you think it would be wise for us to invest in those countries to give them a better life so we'd have less of a problem?
I do.
Okay. How the system works. If an unaccompanied minor makes it to the United States, what's the likelihood they will be sent back to their home country if they're not from Mexico or Canada?
It's less than 2% based on the 17 statistics. It's very rare.
So if you're a parent out there somewhere and you can somehow get your child into the United States, the chances are they never leave.
Correct.
So if you're a family looking to come to the United States, what signal are we sending to you if you come from someplace other than Mexico?
Well, not only a signal, but the smugglers are actively advertising that if they come with a child, they'll be released. This
But
has
wait a
been
minute, slow down. So those people in the smuggling business are actively advertising, I guess in these 3 countries for sure,
correct.
that if you can bring a child with you, your chances of staying in the United States are almost guaranteed.
Correct.
Okay. So that puts us in a bad spot. If we separate families, you can at least deal with adults, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. If you don't separate families, then they're released in 20 days?
If you don't separate families, they're actually released much more quickly than that. Most families are never even going to an ICE family residential centers. They're being released directly to NGOs or to transportation hubs.
What percentage of those people show up for their hearings?
So I would defer to EOIR and to ICE, the immigration court system, on the exact stats, but less than half are showing up when we don't have an alternative to detention in place.
Okay. Senator Durbin mentioned some things that are intriguing to me to make detention cheaper. But at the end of the day, don't you also have to address the reason they come?
You need to do both, no question. And what we've seen in the immigration court system.
If you just made it cheaper for the government, that doesn't affect why they come.
Correct.
All right. So we have.
What you need to do is get immigration court results,
Right.
which we're not able to do consistently if a migrant is not detained during their process.
But our goal is to deter people from taking this journey. What percentage of people apprehended are apprehended outside of port of entries?
87% of crossings in February were illegal crossings.
Okay. At some place other than a port of entry.
Right.
That's why you need barriers?
We absolutely need barriers.
So 87% of the people that are apprehended not at a point of entry, but outside of a point of entry.
Correct.
And when you tell us you need $5.7 billion for barriers, you've located the top 10 places that you think that would make a difference. Is that correct?
Yes.
I mean, you just didn't make this up.
No, we've submitted a rigorously developed border security improvement plan to Congress outlining our top priorities along the entire southwest border.
So if we invested more in the Triangle countries, that could help. You agree?
I agree.
If we built barriers where barriers make sense, that would help.
Certainly.
If we changed the laws that create this problem, that would help most of all.
Dramatically.
Okay. And we could possibly lower the cost of detention by doing some of the things that Senator Durbin said.
Agree as well.
Okay. Doing nothing is not working. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. As to these 2 children, when will the report come out about the care they were given?
Yeah, as noted, I think, by Senator Cornyn, the Inspector General, DHSIG, is conducting investigations and reviews of both cases. We eagerly await those reviews. And, of course, the medical examiners in El Paso and Alamogordo are also analyzing the cause of death. We're looking to find that information so we can apply any lessons learned to improve our efforts.
Okay. How long have you been involved in this business?
18 years almost.
Are all the trends going the wrong way?
This is a brand new set of phenomenon with families and children. Yes, the trends are going the wrong way. We are far from our historic lows of 2017 or 2011. We're headed toward 650, as you noted, or 750,000 crossings and arrivals this year. That's a much higher number, much close to historical highs than historical lows.
Is it fair to say we are facing a crisis in at least these 2 areas?
Absolutely.
the solutions you've outlined, do you think they would make an appreciable difference?
I'm certain that they would, yes.
How much reduction do you think would occur if we changed our laws?
So the three changes I outlined, and this is not to say that there's not important parts of the Flores settlement. Having appropriate
Just made it more
conditions,
flexible.
having appropriate conditions for children is essential, and we're committed to that. What we're asking is for the ability for families to be detained together in an
You
appropriate.
think that would deter people from coming in the future?
They need to be able to finish an immigration court proceeding because most of these claims are not valid for asylum.
But
This
the
is economic
advertisers would
migration.
have a different story to tell. Is that correct?
They'd have a tougher story to tell because
Right.
right now they can tell them they'll be released and they're right.
Okay, it would change the demand, hopefully.
Yes.
What percentage of the people, of the 640,000 we're going to apprehend, how many do we miss?
So we are at the highest levels of our interdiction effectiveness rate that we've ever had in our history. We do have a ton of capability out there that we're augmenting with the investments this year. Families and children are by and large turning themselves in. So we have about 100% apprehension rate for families and children. It's those single adults that are evading capture, the smugglers, and the illicit drugs that we're worried about.
As you deal with this growing crisis with family and children, you'll have less resources to deal with the other problem?
Absolutely accurate, yes.
Thank you.